Well, look, we'll start with a prayer and then I'm going to ask you
Yeah,
the
okay.
question. So we can just get
But
this
can you
off.
answer my question as well?
I'm going to pray
Okay.
about the question, then we'll talk about after the Hail Mary, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Going on 6 years here, so technically speaking, come March, we could be in the process of a passport.
Wow.
So feeling Irish and being Irish is already going to be like indifferent. I'm going to be.
So that's like a passport equals citizenship, right?
Passport equals Irish citizenship, but divine law is a different thing, because the Lord said, he who leaves country, family, brothers, sisters, I will give him country, brothers, sisters. So in a divine way, I've been given this country.
To rule, like
I am.
Wow.
I have
That's a great statement.
divine citizenship.
Wow.
So like
yeah,
divine right.
But the way you said it made you sound like you like. Well, I suppose you could say possess the land, because isn't that what you know?
have a vow of
you
poverty,
possess the land,
no
right?
possessions, but this land has been given to me. It's like
they're not going to give you a passport.
No, they're not going to watch this either. Like, and there was a very slim chance of getting it. Our first month here, we were deported. I'm a deportee.
Oh my gosh.
They'd said if I'd come in with a beard and really desperate looking, they would have given me the passport right away.
Oh gosh.
That's what they told me.
They actually said that?
Yeah, it's not racist. It's the fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah, and I went the legit way, which is the religious minister way. And the immigration officer said it's actually getting very, very hard for religious ministers to get citizenship visas in this country.
Okay. To get visas, even to get in at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if there's been some scams, but before you would get like this basic pass where you're in because they knew you're a missionary, they knew you're going to be working, and it was just they trusted you. But that's in the past.
Wow.
Yeah. Just the past 10 years, actually.
Wow. Well, I mean, there's pros and cons to that. I mean, having checks and balances is a good thing, but like if it's in any way discriminatory against people who just want to be on mission, and that's sad.
Could be. Or like I said, I think there were some Protestant ministers that were coming in.
Okay.
And they were coming under they were ministers of religion, but then they were just kind of lived their life. So that's also been explained to me, like that was maybe a case. So I guess you can understand it. But then again, I was told that the Irish are extremely strict in the theory, but then very lax in the practice.
That sounds very Irish.
Oh, Sherlock.
Yeah, you've learned that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sherlock would be grand.
Yeah, Sherlock should be grand. Just go ahead. But then, like, the paper's extremely intimidating.
Right.
So if this is actually prohibiting me from getting my visa, I'm regretting everything I say now. But I feel very Irish in that sense.
Yeah.
Not in the sense like every American, says they're Irish, which at least every American that I know would be making the claim. I feel more of like a passion, like, giving my life for this country and really wanting it to thrive. Yeah. That's my that's where I feel very Spanish as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Like, as in you have a heart for the people of Spain?
I've been 10 years in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah. So living there in Spain, I feel extremely, funny enough, I feel more patriotic to Spain than to my own country, actually.
I don't know why I find it so funny. I don't know why.
I could actually I could lose a lot of popularity there, but I just think the country's soaked in Catholicism. So when you love a country, it's like you're loving something that's based in like truth. Whereas I think there's a lot of false patriotism where you love the country for different kind of reasons.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't, I can't really, I love my home. I love my family, and I love, but like at the moment it's very hard for me to like feel like patriotic as an American.
Why?
You have to kind of step out and you get a bit of a broader vision of different things, like what your country's been kind of involved in, and it can become a bit of shameful,
right?
Which, like I said, could be a whole topic for another conversation. But like it's not really like we wouldn't have had, I don't know, a history based on like the real idea of God, a God who's our Capitol Hill, by the way. You go into Washington D.C., it's George Washington's like ascension into the heavens. It's George Washington. Okay. The enthronement as well of Abe Lincoln there as well. Yeah. It's like the enthronement. They're kind of ideas which, like, if you were in Spain, your country would be like under the Christ, the king figure,
yes.
enthroned. I mean, all the houses are enthroned to Christ, the king. You know, it's our founding fathers would be kind of like, you know, Thomas Jefferson. You know, these guys that you would have, like a lot of Americans would kind of like think, you know, oh, these guys are the great fathers, you know, founding fathers. But then you scratch a bit, and they're like wouldn't be very sympathetic to the Catholic faith.
Yeah. What I find a little disturbing sometimes about some nationalistic ideas where you see religion or Catholicism or Christianity in there, but it's almost like used to promote a form of nationalism that is actually devoid of authentic Christianity or authentic Catholicism. I love Ireland. Like I love the people of Ireland, and I love this country too, but ultimately obviously we want to see the country under the queenship of Our Lady and the kingship of Jesus, you know, like
your constitution,
which
is something that we'll see in the next couple of years. Like this is gonna be a very interesting. I think everybody's actually aware of it now in the society where you have access to so much information. 2024 is going to be a big one, and usually around elections something crazy always happens. It's not like prophecies or anything. This is just go back to all like U.S. elections. Something really weird or strange happens. 2020 was our last. So I don't have to remember or remind people what 2020 was. But Jared, you are Irish. I actually don't. I'm interviewing right now. We're talking to you, but I don't. It's not one of those things where I actually know your story. So I'm prompting questions. I don't actually know anything about you. I know you're.
Good place to start.
4 years ago, I think, was the first maybe encounter we had. We were at a U2000, which, by the way, we're at U2000 here. What are these called?
Lanyards.
Lanyards, yeah. Lanyards.
I have a collection of them at home because really I should give them
You're
back.
not actually supposed to.
I know I'm not supposed to, but every event I go to that I get a lanyard, I always forget to.
Yeah, I've got grey, and I think I've got a good few grey there. Sorry, Helena.
I actually still have them, and now and again I'm like, I should bring them back when I go back to an event that's repeated after year. Like
no, you're supposed to turn them in.
I know.
Jared's not a...
I'm not a thief. I'm not like a lanyard thief.
He's not a thief. I was going to say he's not a seminarian either. Like,
I'm just forgetful.
I have to get this.
Oh, sorry.
It's very important for me to clarify this. Like, part of my job as well is like I'm trying to get, so I know some really nice girls and really nice guys, and sometimes you could maybe get them introduced to each other. Okay. But Jared's not
available.
He's not single, and he's not a seminarian. So we just have to get that.
I'm married.
He's a married man. I saw this morning. I'd forgotten that I'd met him at a U2000 where he tried an attempt to roast Brother Christian. Brother Christian and him had a little battle there. Jared was
a rap battle.
Yeah, rap battle. He was a week, I think, before preparing his 3 bars, and then Brother Christian
came back in with something which I didn't really expect, and then there was this moment where really in an authentic rap battle I then would have come back with something else, but my 3 weeks of preparation ended with my 3 lines.
It's like fumbling to pull out a piece of paper, but it just it ended there. So we are in a U2000 retreat in Newbridge. It's their Christmas retreat. I just thought I'd leave it on maybe just for the sake of giving a bit of a plug-in for U2000. Mm-hmm. But Jared, I saw him in the chapel this morning with his breviary, and I didn't know if he was a seminarian or one of those priests that just usually at U2000 you wouldn't get these kind of, like, nothing against them, but just it would be kind of awkward if they were to walk in here and you see like Dominicans, Franciscans. Yes. But Jared, you're originally from?
Galway,
okay. And born and raised Catholic?
Yes. So I'm from Galway. was that a question where you were like starting like get me talking, but I didn't talk more than you wanted me to? Anyway,
Galway, No, I'm just gonna wait.
Like, video editing, right?
It's not live. It's usually live, which is
okay. So born and raised in Galway, and thankfully baptized. Thankfully, First Holy Communion, confirmation, Mass every Sunday.
How many brothers, sisters? 1
older brother, 1 older sister, 1 younger sister. So 4 in total. Okay. 4 children in total. 3 siblings of mine. Depends how you say it,
Yeah, no, but I feel like I'm so dumb when you speak. Like I actually don't understand what he's saying. Your man was 3 weeks out reading the book. Oh wait, what? So he wasn't.
Yeah. Okay, so
there's 4 of you all together.
There's 4 of us all together. Yeah.
Right.
But So basically, by the time I was 13, I remember saying to someone, "I'd like to believe that God is real, but He's probably not." I think I was just carried by the culture, really carried by.
Sorry, what age?
13.
13's just about coming into secondary school.
Just going into secondary school.
First year.
Yeah, first year secondary.
First year, you're an atheist.
I mean, I was heading that way. I wasn't like taking the stance that I am an atheist.
Yeah.
But I was certainly moving that way. And the way that I would probably put it, though, is I was uninspired, unconvinced, unenthused by anything that I'd heard or seen about God. Because I hadn't really seen anything that would have, or experienced anything, or met anyone who would have inspired me to really connect with God or the reality of God. So it was more like based on what I've seen and heard and experienced, he's probably not real. That would have been the way I put it. So yeah, my dream was to be a professional footballer. So that kind of really just captured my imagination.
I'm sorry, but it's like I said, we're going on 6 years here. But I was told that every time in Spain, football, if you don't say football, you're American. So you have to say football. You said football, but yeah. I was told here that football is Gaelic.
Okay,
and soccer is.
Yeah, it's confusing sometimes. I
didn't think it was that confusing, but I mean.
Well, okay, soccer is what I'm talking about, but in the soccer world, let's say the soccer community in Ireland,
say football.
We would say football.
But the Gaelic community would call that soccer.
The Gaelic community would call it soccer. And like on for instance, on RTE, if you look at the tabs of the different sports, RTE sport, the different tabs, it would be soccer is what they would call it. To distinguish mostly from football, which would be Gaelic football mostly known as. But it'd be like I think it seems to be the case, and probably not, in most sports, it's like, I mean, am I right in saying that in New Zealand they call rugby football? Or is that Australia? Footy.
Yeah, big one.
Yeah. Okay. And then, but like American football, like
we call football.
In England, it's football. It's Gaelic football. It's
Spain is football.
So I think So anyway, the point being, within the soccer community in Ireland, we would just call it football. Very rarely have I heard it called soccer within the soccer community.
Yeah, keep it pure. I think that's what you're supposed to be doing. I just said I disagreed with him, but I'm just going to go with it. I say Nike, by the way, as well. I don't say Nike.
Okay. Yeah. So I work with someone from Philadelphia, and we're trying to correct her English.
Yeah,
because she's carrying an awful lot of things that are wrong, basically, to Ireland. One of them came up recently. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, there's loads of them. But no, do you know what? You speak however,
You just
I'll love and
you
respect.
Let me be me.
Yeah, you be you. Isn't that a great? Isn't that what it's all about nowadays?
Yeah. So you're not declared atheist in the sense. I don't think any first year is literally capable of doing that. And I'm always trying to remind them of that. I don't think any TY is capable of that either. And I think you can't declare yourself proper atheist. You're probably a practicing atheist insofar as you live as if God didn't exist, but you're not like the theory atheist where you've come to these conclusions. But you're not an atheist. You're just kind of like, no one's ever really, you just see the world and you just see like, well, look, it's an invisible thing that nothing's really, so maybe he's.
For me, it was like at best he's real, but he's distant, and maybe one day like heaven might be real and you might go there one day, but the reality of God was.
But you continue to go to mass through secondary school?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully my family, there was a tradition there of going to mass every Sunday as a family. Yeah, yes. So.
And football, you're getting more serious into that. So the training, the whole idea of wanting to be, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm actually seeing this as well, that kept you out of other things. Vaping. You weren't like vaping wasn't a thing back then, was it?
Yeah.
Back then, how old were you? Sorry.
So things got serious with football when I was maybe 14, because that's when I was selected for the Republic of Ireland for the first time to play for Ireland at under 15 level.
14 years old, you were already on the panel.
14. I mean, under 15. So I don't know if I was 15 or 14, but whatever under 15 makes you in age, whatever. Yeah. So 14, 15. And see, I had a conversion experience though at 13 and 14. So it's like football got serious, but faith started to get serious all at the same time. So between the two of them, I think I was saved from a lot of stuff. Yeah,
because you have to be, especially if you're getting put on I'm sure it's just like everywhere else. They have regulations. If you want to be
Yeah.
on the panel, you have to be behaving a certain way.
Yeah.
Or
Well, what I would say, just if you want to make it in football, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, look, within the football world, I mean, there's plenty of examples of people who I mean, yeah, you have to live you can, if depending on how much talent you have, and how successful you want to be, that is where the lines are in relation to what you can get away with morally when it comes to lifestyle. So personally, I mean, I had talent, but I also had to be very disciplined to maintain the physical standards that I needed to maintain.
So if you're really good, but if you're out drinking, smoking, they're going to be like, all right, listen. Yeah. But if you're like really trying to just keep it, and you're out there saying, "Let's get out." There's no this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like there are people who have played at a very high level, but have had serious problems with like alcohol and, drugs even, I mean, obviously, yes.
Paul McGrath would be one.
Paul McGrath would be an example of someone. I've read his story, and I think I actually really appreciated his book. I thought he was very. It's a while now since I read it, but there's a real like honesty to his
I liked
book,
it, yeah. And
you read it too. Yeah?
No, but I liked his story.
Okay, yeah.
It sounded like I read it, didn't I? When
yeah.
you said that. If you hadn't have said it, I probably would have come across that I read the book.
Yeah, it sounded like you were kind of trying to impress me. With
no, sorry. I actually didn't.
No.
Didn't read the book.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated his story, and I think he'd be an example of someone who just was like kind of in a sort of an honest way, just struggling, just struggling through, and with alcoholism. But he was obviously so talented and such a brilliant player that they still wanted to play him. They still wanted him in the team. Whereas I probably wouldn't have got away with it because I don't think I had that kind of talent.
Yeah, he's not the one. Do you mention the cups? The whole idea of raising cups. I've heard that once.
What's that?
Where he's raised a good number of cups before.
Do you mean like won trophies?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to sorry, I was trying to make that like impressive. That was what the pause was. So he says, I've raised a lot of cups before, but the most spectacular one that I've witnessed being raised was the chalice at Mass or something.
Paul McGrath said that?
Is that fake news?
I have no idea where Paul McGrath's at with his faith. I didn't even know that he had.
Well, we'll have to. Yeah, let me. We won't. We can fact check that, but it sounded like.
I'm sorry for interrupting that as well.
I was trying to get the epic.
Sorry.
So it's okay. Don't worry about it. Maradona's another example, which you could. I always use him for the lads as well. He's got a really, really good story there. I usually tie him in with Father Philip Moraine when we're talking about these because I think they're both like they're not similar obviously in skill wise, but like their dreams. They both said that they had two dreams. You can see Maradona saying at like 8 years old he wanted to be lifting the cup for his country and win the World Cup for Argentina. And I think it was 86 East Germany, Aztec Stadium in Mexico, Argentina won. And his dreams are fulfilled, and then the rest is kind of history. He ends up with addictions, and Philip Moraine had the dream of the supermodel playing for his favorite team in the Ferrari, and he had that around 18, 19. He's a Dominican priest right now. Anyways, so you can go into that. It's really beautiful stories. But anyways, your dream is that you're going through secondary school, the football's picking up. But would you be like what
standard was I at?
Would you maintain your spot on the team?
Yeah, I mean, so my kind of, so at under 16, I did not make it into one Irish squad, which was like a really devastating blow, to be honest. But from under 17 through to under 19, I played every single match for Ireland, every competitive match. I even played. Wow. I played a year out of my age group as well. So when I was under 18, I played for the under 19s. I actually captained the under 18s. It was a home-based team, but so it wasn't like the full team. But I captained a squad in Holland as well. So, like, I had some trials in England and all of that. I had one contract offer from Aberdeen in Scotland when I was 16. So that's kind of where I was at with football. It wasn't a total unrealistic dream. However, one of the things that I have learned on reflection and based on my experience of progressing in football is that part of the reason, I'm cutting to the end of the story here, which is where I retired at 24, which is obviously quite young to retire from football. But one of the things that I came to realize was that I wasn't as good as I thought I was, or I wasn't going to be as good as I thought I could be. And I think the reason for that was because, I was the best, let's say, in Galway, right, at my age. And then I was the best in Ireland at my age. And I think it's not that easy as a 17-year-old to really conceive and to really see the difference between being the best 17-year-old in the country and being the best full stop in the country in other words to progress into the senior international team. You could use the word naive, but I think I was caught up in the dream. I was caught up in the dream. And it also, if you're representing your country at underage and you've got like some trials in England, and then you're playing it I ended up not going to Scotland and stayed. I signed with Galway United, and I played 2 years at Merview in the first division. So I was playing senior football from the time I was 18, which is it was the first division in Ireland, which is obviously, I would say I was playing at, you could say, the lowest level of, not to down talk it. One funny thing actually I get is lads, when I do retreats, and every time I'm in a school and if I share my story, they're like, were you in FIFA? This is all they want to know, And I'm like, I was going to ask you, but I wasn't able to research that. Yeah, I'm like, I was and I am in FIFA. But I often say to them, I think I was actually the lowest ranked player in the entire game. Really? Yeah, when I was in FIFA, once I was an 18-year-old, or let's say at Galway United when I signed, I was like a 17-year-old goalkeeper, like substitute goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I was, but there was another game called Championship Manager, which I used to play. And when I used to sign myself, so I would find myself or whatever, and I had a decent, Championship Manager gave me a decent sort of projection in terms of how far I could go with my career, and and I had so when I played for the Irish under-17s, I remember getting a good bit of attention because I did well in the European Championships, and I remember newspapers interviewing me, and I'd open a newspaper and there'd be a 2-page spread with my picture, and that all kind of builds up your expectation and your ego basically, and your hopes. I remember even that my manager at under-17 saying that I was the best in Europe at that age, and so that's going to place this sort of. What position were you? I was a goalkeeper.
Oh, you're the goalkeeper.
Yeah, if you were listening to me, I said it 2 minutes ago.
You said in the championship. I thought that's just really you really made it as a goal. I was trying to say
no. I would, yeah.
You're a keeper. Wow.
Yeah. I was a goalkeeper. Yeah. So I and to be honest with you, that's where what I kept hearing, and this was actually a real struggle for me, emotionally, let's say, and psychologically to deal with, because what I kept hearing was he's not big enough, he's too small. That would have been what I got. So when I was at Ipswich, I was there twice on 2 trials, and I had done well there, and I felt very comfortable there. I always felt comfortable training at any level. I never felt as a teenager that I had ever been around any goalkeeper, anyone who I felt like I couldn't sort of match technically, or I couldn't train with, or I was very confident in my ability as a teenager especially. But what I kept hearing was he's not big enough, and so that's what I remember hearing back from Ipswich, not directly but indirectly through a scout. He said, they would have signed you if you were an inch taller and an inch taller and a bit broader, because I wouldn't have been. I'm less than 6 foot. But I'm also not I don't know if the cameras can tell, but I'm not built like a tank either, So I used to spend a lot of time in the gym, and to read, I had to put an awful lot of emphasis on being physically strong, a lot of time in the gym to kind of maintain that sort of physical standard that was needed to play at senior football. But at the end of the day, I think you can feel sorry for yourself, but I think that's all part of just natural ability, and I think that was part of coming to the realization that I had talent and I could have played. I could have continued. I could still be playing in the League of Ireland now. I'm sure I could still be playing in the League of Ireland now if I just persevered and continued. And who knows what level at the League of Ireland, or who knows even what level I could have played at. But part of it was coming to the realization that I'm probably going to end up playing at a level of professional football where I might even have to work a part-time job as well if I want to have a family and raise children and provide and all of that. And
so you're 24.
To be honest with you, that wasn't even my line of reasoning though. Because it wasn't necessarily a line of reasoning that I followed to give up. It was more the experience that God led me on to a point where He allowed me or gave me the opportunity to let go. That's the way I would describe it. A lot of what I'm saying now is on reflection.
Okay. And you said 24. How old are you now? Did I ask you that?
32.
You're 32. You're 24. You throw it in. What's the relationship here? Because this is, for me, the whole idea of this is that a normal Irish lad, secondary school, just gonna listen to this. That's like the idea.
Mm-hmm.
If it happens, that's another thing. But let's say he is listening, right? And he's trying to reflect where that's really a massive achievement. It's a huge dream. And you're in your age group, you're the best in the country. Like any young lad thinking of them, they're in that position. Where's God now? Like, what's the deal with God? Because this is what I want them to hear. Where, what's the deal here with the faith or with God?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that when I was 13, I basically was saying God probably isn't real, but I had an open mind. There was a teacher in my secondary school who was a very committed Catholic. I think at the time, may even still be a member of the Legion of Mary. Excuse me, one second. So, member of the Legion of Mary, he really, his witness, the reality of a young man who believes in God and is a sort of a very authentic, committed Catholic was interesting to me, because I had never really seen it like that, this sort of commitment to the faith. And there was something about as well the fact that lads in the school used to maybe not show him the respect that he deserved. And sometimes you'd hear people talking about, I even heard people mocking him for his faith. And one of the things that was interesting to me was, even though he would have been getting a bit of slack for it, he still held firm in his faith. And if anything, he seemed to be quite happy and quite at peace with it. So that witness opened my mind and heart more to the reality of God. He brought us on a couple of retreats. So on the first retreat we went on in Knock, again, I heard a testimony for the first time. Again, this young woman shared her testimony. And I remember being like, okay, here's a young woman talking about God. I'd never seen or experienced that before.
How old were you?
I was in first year, so I think.
This is still the first year.
Yeah, so this all happened. Yeah. This has all happened quite so 13. I turned 14 in April of first year, so that's so
what
I
day?
don't know when. The 4th of April.
On the 8th.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. So so in Knock we had a chance to go to confession, and they prepared us well for confession. I thank God for that. They gave us an examination of conscience, and I remember ticking off, if not everything, then the majority of things on the list, and just being nervous to make a good confession. But I went and I was as honest as I could be. And I walked away from confession feeling free and experiencing peace that I never knew even existed, because I never tasted that kind of peace before. And
you have no idea how reassuring it is to hear that a first year could experience that.
Oh yeah.
That's very reassuring and consoling to hear that. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Then there was a similar to what they do here at U2000, there was a Eucharistic kind of blessing where they brought the Blessed Sacrament around to everybody in a monstrance, and the priest just said, or whoever was introducing it said, just hold on to you might give me the right word, but there was like, it was the cope, maybe. Yeah, hold on to the cope and just say a prayer when you come around. So I remember like prepping myself to say a prayer, you know what I mean? Like internally to pray for my family or whatever, But when the Blessed Sacrament was before me, I just, everything just kind of went still, and I just experienced this presence, the presence of God. I experienced the presence of Jesus very, very real and very powerfully. And it was just a presence of love. So that experience moved me to a place where God moved me to a place where I just simply knew he was real, and that he loved me, and that he was good, and I wanted him in my life. So a year later, I hadn't changed the whole pile. I was actually supposed to be suspended from school when the next retreat came around, and I remember praying that night, Lord, please let me go on that retreat. And I went to school. What did I do? I was playing, it was just something silly in the class. Have you ever heard of Silent Billies?
No.
It's where you just refuse to talk basically to the teacher, It was just pure laddie kind of garbage, It was just sort of, but I was one of the ringleaders in organizing that. And
were you kind of Jack the Lad, like everybody was kind of looking at?
Yeah.
This is huge, because you can be like doubting, and you could have been one of those messers and mockers in first year.
Oh,
You could have been a secondary school, like.
Yeah. Oh, wait for. I mean, like, so on the retreat in Knock, they had a rule where you get 3 strikes and you're out. So I had gotten 2 warnings for messing, talking, laughing, whatever I was at. Basically, anyway, I nearly got kicked off that retreat, and so I was really, as you put it, Jack the lad, just I was very giddy, and I mean, one of the things I can go down a sidetrack here for 1 second. Like, I don't think that the schooling system that a lot of us experience as lads just suits lads. I mean, it's just, I was not born to sit in a classroom from 9 till 3 every day. I wasn't born to. I was born to be active. Like, I'd much rather have been learning trades by the time I was even 13. I would have been capable of it as well, of like being active, physically active with my hands. I mean, that's why I love the world of sport, like, because it was physical activity that just suited me so much better.
Massive. So much to be said for that.
Oh, yes, massively. So anyway, I was supposed to be suspended from school then the following year, another retreat. Again, I made a confession, and this time when the priest prayed the prayer of absolution, I actually experienced like something physically lift when he prayed the prayer of absolution. And again, peace. Then there was people praying. This was down in Clonfert, Emmanuel House of Providence in Clonfert, and there was people praying with people there, and this gentleman prayed with me, and I experienced what you might call baptism in the Holy Spirit, like just I experienced the Holy Spirit come upon me very powerfully. It was like I experienced the Holy Spirit come upon me, but also like a release of the Holy Spirit in my heart. So a very powerful experience of the Holy Spirit that like literally like knocked me off my feet. Like I fell back, but they'd be kind of used to sort of resting in the Spirit. So this guy caught me, laid me on the ground. The funny thing was, I remember walking back and seeing all my classmates, and I remember thinking, that's just what happens when this guy prays with you. So I presumed that all the lads had experienced what I experienced.
Eddie Stones with it.
Yeah. I presumed that all the lads just experienced this. So it was only on the bus on the way back that I realized, I mean, I remember like on the bus on the way back, there was one guy who wasn't there. And I was like, hey, teacher, can we like say a Hail Mary for our friend who wasn't there? And I remember praying that for him. And but I remember just the comments and the way people were talking on the bus. I was like, okay, not everyone has experienced that. And I think that would have been maybe the first step for me in like, okay, I know God is real. Like, I mean, he has really blessed me with the grace of experiencing the reality of God, and the reality of the peace that comes from being reconciled with him, the reality of his presence, the reality of the Holy Spirit. And I know that everyone experiences that, but I did, and I'm so thankful for it. But what I experienced then was like the loneliness of being the only one who wanted to follow Jesus. I mean, it was like, there was a lot of pain in those teenage years. This is
all in first year, like the massive.
First year. Now I'm into second year.
Okay, and you're not going to get lads even at that age. Like the hormones are already kicking in. It really is just pure, just kind of like just messing, like an immaturity. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
So like for you to be getting this powerful kind of experience, funny enough, tailing off of something that you're saying. I don't really know if he's there or not because I haven't had a proper experience. It happens in a testimony, a good confession, adoration. It's these are all consoling things that you're saying as well, which I think people need to really hear this. So you get through secondary school. I think it's so clutch that you would be a lad that they would kind of probably look into, like, you're probably someone they were looking up to, or you had status. I mean, you would have had status.
Yeah, like, I mean, well, put it this way: by the end of secondary school, I was the head prefect. And I was the captain of the soccer team that won the All-Ireland. So like I would have had that, social status, if you like. I would have been liked, and I would have been, I kind of would have been friends with everyone in my year. But that added a little bit of pressure in the sense for me in relation to faith, because I was well able to get on in the world. Like I was well able to be I don't know if you'd call it like an influential person in the football or in the school or whatever. But I had no idea really how to live my faith. Because I didn't really have any mentors. I didn't really have anyone I could like talk to about it, or I didn't really know how to live it, or even just establish a prayer life. So it was difficult those years in secondary school. Look, they were. I mean, I have great memories from secondary school. I mean, even like just winning the All-Ireland I really enjoyed my time in Leaving Cert in particular. I had a great time. But there was a lot of like, I mean, I'll give you just one example. I remember one night just like bawling my eyes out at home because just the loneliness of being the only one, for instance, who didn't want to just get absolutely hammered drunk at the weekend. Not necessarily. I mean, I don't want to. It's not that everyone was getting hammered drunk, but it just didn't. The only one who didn't want to drink.
You would have been the only one in your class. Was it all
I would have been
boys'
the only
school?
one. I would have been pretty much the only one in my circle of my friend group who wouldn't have been drinking. Yeah.
And they're not going to be like, oh yeah, Jared's bored or Jared's. I mean, they could slag you for that, but then at the same time, it makes them think at least there's got to be something. This is at least my hope.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, the lad's not drinking. I don't know. Maybe makes them think that there's something that he has or that he's doing that's. Yeah. Because it would be the norm, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I benefited from it in the sense of, and I would have said this back then. I haven't reflected on this in a little while, but I definitely would have benefited from socializing without depending on alcohol for that, you know, what would you call that, like Dutch courage or whatever, the kind of without depending on alcohol to just talk to people, you know, and to be in a social situation. And that was helpful because I still would have gone to like house parties and I still would have gone even to nightclubs, and I would have gone, I ended up in college in Galway, and I would have kind of socialized, you know, and I didn't have any like Catholic or Christian friends. Really, it was only till I was maybe 20, 21, 22 that I started to actually, you know, get like, you know, have, and even then, it's really only now that I'd say that I have a really good solid kind of network, let's say, of people I am connected to in faith.
Would you say if they kind of divide the spiritual life into infancy, adolescence, and adulthood, where would you think you are now in your?
I hope I'm in infancy because we have to become like little children, right?
Okay.
But I know that's not really what you're asking, isn't it? Not?
Well, the infants.
I've never really thought of that.
The infants. Sometimes it's good to reflect. No, I mean, infants are breastfeeding still, so they're just having milk. It's normal, but then there's a stage where they have to be weaned, which literally just means like cut off, and they start eating, you know, like whatever it is, a little like baby food, and you kind of hopefully graduate to steak and real stuff, because that's, and like an adult obviously is there. You can talk about, you know, what the maturity level and stuff. The spiritual life would be similar. Let's say, to give an example, maybe for someone who's kind of confused, which I would understand, it's kind of a confusing example right now. If you're spiritually an infant, silence would be very, very, very difficult. 5 minutes of mental prayer is unthinkable, because in 5 minutes of you trying to just reflect. Sunday Mass, you know, you'd be hitting Sunday Mass. Anything between the Sundays, not really doable. You see, there's a massive effort to kind of do the least of it. That would be kind of like someone who's spiritually, you know, and then you kind of can grow. You did mention before we were on the camera there that you find that you get rest even just in adoration. I think for me that's a sign that you're not a spiritual infant. What would you say there? Because I kind of like the idea that, you know, you jack the lad, whatever, you're out there, you're talented, gifted, you're young, but now you're saying that you're getting rest. Yeah, that's very profound. In adoration.
Well, now, now I am. I mean, I don't. Now and again, the whole conversation of like ADHD comes up for me, and I might have, you know, some level. I mean, it's come up in lots of different. I mean, even speaking to people who have like had diagnoses, I would say like there's some like commonality. I mean, even this thing of remember I was talking, I don't know if we were on camera or not, we were talking about the lanyard thing of like, I've got so many of them at home because there's a thing called object permanency, which is like, it's kind of like forgetfulness basically, or like you don't know that something's there unless you can actually see it. So like if I have my phones on me, I'm like constantly checking, are they there? Anyway, that's just one little sign that I could have some form of ADHD or something. Anyway, so it is interesting that I'm like restless. I'm a fidgeter. But yet I can stay still in adoration for a long time. Like at one stage I was spending 3 hours a day in Eucharistic adoration, and that was all under spiritual direction and all, you know, and because I just had this hunger for Jesus. I would do that still if I could, but I'm a married man, so I can't, you know, I'm a married man who works, and I don't have that kind of time. So
you would, if you could, you would rest there.
I would, yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't just be. I mean, I would
rest. I know what you're saying, like your heart's at ease.
Just to be with him.
Be with him. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing. It's heaven. That's what it is. You're in heaven. If you're before Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, you're in heaven, because he's in heaven, and he's. So why would you not want to be there? You know?
Well, no one has an excuse, because he just basically diagnosed himself with ADHD, and he said he was capable of being 3 hours in adoration. Thank you for that, because I think there's a lot. I mean, I think all lads, basically, just for our nature, have a bit of that in us. I don't think we should all be medicated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm extremely fidgety.
Yeah.
This, you know, this was our game before.
Yeah.
I did lose.
I won, by the way. Yeah. Thank you.
That's all right.
Probably didn't. Yeah.
I'm just trying to be humble about that.
Yeah, I was trying to be proud about it.
Yeah. The fact that you can do that, though, is also, I think, is revealing. And my main goal so far, and I'm really coming more to the conviction of this, we're working a lot in secondary schools, and my goal is not like I need to get them now into mass. And if I get them in the mass, you know, the mass is there, we're taken care of. We have to get them into mass, and they have to go back to mass. But I'm trying to get them into the prayer room there in the church where Jesus is exposed in adoration. And if I can get a lad who's randomly walking home and he just goes in there by himself, if I can get that,
if
it's taken care of. It's 100%. Done. 100%. Game over. Like, you've done your mission.
Yeah, you've put him. You have connected him with Jesus. That's it. Let Jesus do the rest. I mean, obviously you're going to be there to.
He's going to bring him, and then he's going to say, "Listen, you can have me inside of you, all the way." Yeah, but look, maybe, you know. And then the confession. That's my goal. And I really want to get them in. The mass is there, but I mean, I want to get them into that chapel. And
but the need as well for. Look, there's so much in our culture today about mental health and well-being and all of this stuff, but like, just the amount of work that God does in us in Eucharistic adoration, on a very human level as well. I mean, all that time, if you give him, even if it's. Sorry, I shouldn't say just an hour a day, because that's obviously a significant amount of time. But you give him an hour a day or an hour a week, you know, whatever, 10 minutes a day, wherever you're at. And I would often say as well, it's like you start with whatever you can. I mean, I remember the first time I did a holy hour, like literally I was like this. Like I tried everything I could. Like I prayed the rosary. I read some of the Bible. I did whatever I could just to sort of like maintain there. Literally by the end, I was like this. And then I was like, literally at 1 hour, I was like, okay, Jesus, I'm done. And I walked out, because that was like, but I had, I suppose with the sport and stuff, that helped me to have this sense of like commitment and dedication and discipline, which is quite helpful. But I had to grow in it. But the amount of work that just self-knowledge and knowledge of God, the amount of work that God has done in me just by sitting in silence. Yeah. You know, I mean, I read a book called The Power of Silence, Cardinal Sarah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I think I mean, he says some strong things about silence. I mean, some really strong things. I won't quote them now because I'll probably misquote them. But, you know, it's like, I would almost go as far as to say you know, it is the problem of our time. It is. You know?
No, it is. Number one. Yeah. Have you ever done spiritual exercises?
I've dipped in and out of them. I love the rules, and I've done like Ignatian spirituality in terms of discernment and stuff like that. But I would love to do. Actually, you guys do retreats, don't you? Yeah,
we do. Yeah, and we actually become so popular because people have tasted what silence is. Yeah, that there's been a demand, and I knew that was going to happen because the first time we do in our novitiate, it's a month of the next. They really are a month, but we're not doing that here. It's weekends. Once the soul is created for silence. Robert Serra says in the book as well, heaven is going to be this. Yeah. You know. I could. Yeah, that was one of the strongest things. What he said about silence in heaven. Yeah. Do you remember what he actually said? Can you describe it? No, I just remember that idea that God dwells in silence and he is silence and things grow in silence. The whole idea. Yeah. It's funny because that's probably the biggest thing that we're terrified of in this society is you can never be alone with yourself or alone in silence or terrified. But once people taste the spiritual exercises, they sign up for the next ones. They became so popular that we had to do one for the husbands, so the husbands could come. The wives could do it as well, either husbands or wives. It wasn't like husbands and wives. We just we had to set up two, and now we might have to set up a third one because we're just making it adaptable for a married man, you know, so I definitely recommend it, Jared, the spiritual exercises. But that's one thing I wanted to ask you. The second thing here is you're married with
Katie.
Okay, and children?
Yeah, John. We have a son, John.
John, how old is he?
He is 2.5. He'll be 3 in June.
Is he through the teething?
Oh yeah. No, he's got all his teeth. He hasn't been teething in a while. I forgot about teething actually. Gosh.
Sorry, I thought teething was like a 2-year-old thing.
To be honest with you, we just one day at a time. All I know is that we haven't talked about teething in a long time, and even though obviously 2.5 is quite young, but like, gosh,
do you ever get up in the middle of the night?
Phases. John, not. I mean, over the year, absolutely. Like in the last 2.5 years, like loads.
Would you have to like,
personally? How do you, Jared or Katie?
I'm not saying ye. Like.
Oh yeah, like.
Would you have to get up if like John was crying, or do you have to bring him down? Like.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so now he's at a point where he sleeps through the night mostly, but he wakes quite early. So this morning he was up at 4:00. But I love my time in the morning with him though. So like on a good day, he'll sleep from 6 until 6.
6 in
6 in the evening until 6 in the morning. Wow. That's a really good night now.
Yeah.
The odd time he'll wake during the night, but now he's at a stage where he'll go back to bed fairly easily. He usually though wakes sometime between 5 and 6. This morning he woke at 4, and then Katie, my wife, tried to help him get back to sleep, but he didn't. So then we swapped. I got up with him at 5:30. But it's, even though it's demanding, it's very demanding. Parenting is very demanding, but it's so good though. It's so good. I mean, I love especially the fact that I get like pretty much I get at least 2 hours with my son every morning.
Wow. I
mean, isn't that just so good to be able to say as a dad? I mean, just the way that our life is set up is just great. And I love that time with him. So we just go down to the sitting room and, you know, we play. This morning he was, we just got this like little IKEA box and we had like 3 tennis balls and, you know, we were just throwing them in the box. And
he says you have good reflexes.
Well, I'm training him in, you know, it's so funny. Like, stop. Well, one thing I say to people as a joke is I'm going to live all of my unfulfilled dreams through my son, you know, which is a terrible way to parent and I wouldn't recommend it.
That's a typical dad. Like,
yeah.
American kind of dad.
Yeah. So my point being, really, when it comes to parenting, I think it's just so important. As much as I will want him to be successful in whatever he wants to do, ultimately, like, we just gotta love him for who he is. Like, he's our son, and that's really I think that, like, so I joke about putting pressure on him to be a professional footballer.
Yeah,
but like,
well, you have the 2 dads. I mean, there's the dad there that's just like grind him in, you know, and he's there. He's up in the morning. He's training with him, and he's just like pushing him. And he wants him to get the records, and then sometimes the son is just kind of. He's terrified if he doesn't make his dad's expectations. Then you have another one. I'm thinking this is rugby. He's a lad. He's in Blackrock. I asked him if he likes it when his dad's at the match. He says he thrives when his dad's there because his dad has like this whistle that he does to him. I thought it was beautiful. He like whistles, and he hears it right away. Yeah. And his dad played rugby.
Okay.
So the whistle means like, you know, like there's a break. You know, there's a breach there, or there's like a hole here, right. And he kind of like is there. They're communicating.
Right. Okay.
Like, it's kind of like a way that he just says he loves his dad, and his dad's there, and his dad's definitely not one of these dads that's just like, and the boy's thriving as well. He's doing very well, you know. But I think that's
it's a very interesting conversation, you know. I mean, I watched there's a documentary out on David Beckham and Victoria Beckham in their life, and got into a little bit of the dynamics between David Beckham's dad and him, and his dad put a lot of pressure on him to succeed, and in many ways. I mean, David himself would say like that. I don't think he said he would change anything about it, but like there was it was part and parcel of why David was so dedicated and committed and all of that. But sorry, that's not even why I brought that up. The reason I brought that up was because after watching it, my wife, I wasn't there at the time. We've got little goals outside. And my wife brought my son John out, and I was like, "Okay, let's go," and trying to train him and stuff, you know. So just kind of out of motivation to kind of like succeed or whatever. But it's really funny. But it was typical Katie because I don't think she's brought him out since, you know. Just sort of this like flash of enthusiasm, you know. She won't mind me saying that. We joke about that kind of thing all the time. So he I'll be honest with you, John Hanley, my son, is and I'm saying this just he is. Very healthy, very strong. He's very tall. He's very tall for his age. I mean, if he's not, actually there's a pediatric nurse who is a friend of mine. And like John was only like 4 or 5 months old or something, and he was just like, "Oh, he's an athlete," you know. That's what he said. And I would just say the same thing now at like 2.5. I mean, he's an athlete. Like, just everything about him, how physical he is, the way he likes to play. You know, he'll put up like this big polar bear that we have, and he'll just put him on the couch, and he'll just like run at him and like absolutely smash him. You know, just sort of loves like jumping off the couch, and he loves physical play. I think that's really healthy though for a young child as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see where he goes, you know, or what. He's 2.5.
Give him
but it is fun to talk about and think about, you know.
I love the father-son thing again. It's so important and is dropped with the silence, but father-son has also been dropped. So you have a beautiful role there. Our Lord's prepared you. It's consoling to hear as well, you know, from a first year that they can have these experiences. You can get into so much there, because I don't know, you're 32, so what year would you have been a first year? You're talking, this is pre-smartphone era. This
2004.
So you would have been pre-smartphone.
2004, 2005, yeah. I didn't have a smartphone.
I graduated in 2000. Wow, we won't get into that. You were in first year in 2004.
Yes.
Okay. So that's all. Yeah, that's all hopeful. You have a lay vocation, which is great as a dad.
Mm-hmm.
You have an insight into the culture as a real Irish lad. You also have the sports angle, which is so important now for the lads. And you have a real heart-to-heart experience with God who's real. So massive mission, because we're playing right now. We were talking about Sister Ruth before we came on, but I think the future of the country is at play right now in these next 10 years. They always say it, just even demographics, like how it's been going. This is going to turn into a completely secular atheist country. These next 10 years, everything's at play.
Mm-hmm.
But this is so great to see coming up in your vocation. You're in there. You're submersed in the world, and especially, you know, when we're talking about the synod and like how there's a tendency. Robert Barron said this, like there's a tendency to kind of like make these people. We're kind of looking in on ourselves, like, you know, making people churchy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
giving them a church role or
Mm-hmm.
ordaining them a deacon because this is going to change everything. Whereas the 90% of Catholics are out there in the world and they're functioning.
Yeah.
It's about making, you know, getting to them and injecting them with spiritual support, spiritual exercises, spiritual direction, sacraments, formation.
Witness.
Mm.
Yeah.
We need to be giving you guys this supplement, and you guys are in there trying to inject it into like these groups which wouldn't have it, which are colder. So that's great, Jared. We're probably getting in trouble right now because, like I said, we're on U2000 retreat, so we probably should retreat back into the program of things.
Got a lot of editing to do now as well.
We just skipped. We just pulled out, but like right now they're in workshops. So this is our little virtual workshop, which I think the Lord's happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So Jared, last word, last statement, last anything that you want to shout out to anybody or anything. This is your last hurrah. You don't have to mention this.
Just get yourself before the Blessed Sacrament and get yourself there often.
I think
that's it.
That's it. If you get yourself before the Blessed Sacrament, if we can get people before the Blessed Sacrament, job's done. Yeah. So
job's done because Jesus does the job, does the work in us, and that's it. It's about letting him do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Encourage you guys in where you are, lay people. I'm always saying this. Your mission now, where we have to defend the Eucharist more than ever, is really get 24/7 perpetual adorations going in your area. Yeah. Work on that. Like I said, if that happens, it's a game changer. And the second thing I was going to say, I completely forgot, but that's all right. Maybe we can end it with a blessing. I think that was a good ending there, Jared, on the Blessed Sacrament.
Yeah. Well, can I say one other thing?
Okay. Just put a second part to it. Yeah.
This is just something that's been on my heart the last week even. We need to be careful not to become, like you just said, like almost cliquey or closed in on ourselves. Like we need to love people. We need to love people who are not in the church. We need to have authentic friendship with people. And, you know, if I look back over my walk as a Christian, as a Catholic in Ireland, you know, sometimes I cringe at times when I feel like if anyone felt in any way judged by me, or in any way like there was any kind of self-righteousness in me, or any kind of anything that would have been, do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Do you want to say it better than I'm saying it?
No, I get the impression that the world will have an animosity, a natural animosity. I'm talking about the world, like the spirit of the world. It will have a natural animosity against Christianity because it is, Christ said it. But that doesn't mean Christians need to make themselves hateful in the sense that, like, that's the evil and that's the world and, like, this is us. We need to be bringing the healer to broken people, and we've seen it as well, because the majority of our work would be with like zero faith, zero. Like I'm always thinking maybe sub-zero. That's the majority of our work. And so, like, when I come to things like this, like, my gut feeling is that, like, lads, if we were to just be coming here because this is nice, that we can have the same conversation and not be contradicted, but you're not thinking about, you're going back to college, you're going back to secondary school, and they're absolutely dying, we would be in big trouble. Or if we were just saying, like, I have nothing to do with that person because they're obviously completely against what I believe, I wouldn't convince yourself of that, because their human heart is the same human heart you have, and we're aching for peace, we're aching for God. I feel bad for him. It was today's gospel. He felt pity. They're dejected and rejected. They're dejected, rejected, spit out, destroyed. Some people have got some really, really hard lives. Really, really hard. Yeah. And it's probably coming from a bad dad, bad mom, both, or lack of. And they're just kind of into this situation. So you're dead right. We have to get out there and get him. And we got to bring him in. And he's got to be doing his part, healing, which he will. So thanks, guys. God bless you. And take this to heart. We always really try to encourage. That's what this is about. We need to encourage. This is the most exciting time to be a Catholic. The most exciting time. Because it's the line's drawn. We got to just run out into the breach and get out there. And we got to be fighting. That's what you're confirmed for. You're confirmed to go out there and bring this massive treasure that we have. We found God. And now we have to bring him to others who don't know him. So we'll end with a blessing there. And may God bless you and take care of you. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
May Almighty God bless you, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Go in peace, guys. See you later.